We're going to try to put a little bit of a positive spin on the pandemic by asking you, what have you been able to take away from the experience that has either been very compelling or rewarding?
Undoubtedly, there are some people who suffer from the consequences of the pandemic and will suffer from the consequences of the pandemic, maybe along the lines of a post-traumatic stress disorder. But this being said, the vast majority of people will be fine. And we continue to be impressed over and over and over again by the resilience that people have to major catastrophes, major events, both individual and communal, in this case, of course, being a communal one. People just build communities, they get more of a sense of belonging, they connect more with people. Believe it or not, the pandemic has been characterized by disconnect, and yet people have found ways of connecting with one another, either virtually or through other means, and have done quite well, actually.
What can the healthcare community be doing to help stem the tide of both mental health and addiction issues right now?
The way that I see it in two major parts. There's a group of people who suffer from psychiatric disorders, and they need professional help. They need to see a psychiatrist, another mental health professional. Sometimes they may need medication. Sometimes they need psychotherapy. They need some kind of program to get better, both in terms of addiction and other psychiatric disorders. And then there's another group, which is pretty much the rest of us, who may have lighter forms of mental health issues, anxieties, mild depressions, and so on. And we also can very much benefit from some support, some programs, some prevention of the more severe forms of illness. And that second part is, I'm delighted that it's being appreciated more and more and more these days. And people talk about mental health and mental wellness, and people are starting to do something about it, which is absolutely wonderful. The problem there is that we don't have enough people to respond to that demand. It's an interesting reversal of fortune in some ways, that only a few years ago, we would scream and yell, come on, look at mental health, it's just such an important piece of life. And because of the pandemic, or actually pandemic accelerated that process, the situation has reversed now. And it's society that's coming to our doorstep and say, what kind of help can we get? Where are you? How can you possibly make things better for us? And unfortunately, at this point, we do have a workforce problem, and we don't have enough psychiatrists, we don't have enough mental health professionals, and of course, that's something that we very actively are working on these days.
So to switch topics a little bit and talk about the concept of mentorship and giving back, how important is that for students early in their career?
It's immensely helpful to a young person to see someone with whom they identify to some extent, but also they appreciate that they may have been a little more advanced in their careers. So having a mentor earlier in your professional life is quite key, quite central to your development. But I want to go a step further than that. It's not just the individual mentorship. There's also something of a group mentorship or a communal mentorship. I very often tell my medical students to go to a conference, go to a psychiatric conference and see, do you like it there? Are these your peeps? Are these the people that you want to spend your professional life with? And get the vibe of what a particular specialty is all about.
And how significant is the need to support both medical and healthcare students through scholarship programs like this one?
On one hand, in a very practical and a very logistical fashion, it makes it possible for a kid to pursue her or his dreams. And in another way, from a psychological perspective, is a huge achievement. It's an acknowledgement of the hard work that I have been putting into their education, and a reward for this kind of accomplishment that they have.
What is your best advice for future healthcare professionals?
We very often hear the advice to follow your dream, follow your passion, and you're going to be great at it. And that is very true. I don't have a problem with that. But the reverse is also true, meaning to pursue what you're really good at. Try to find out what you excel in, and trust me, the passion will follow and you will be really into that. So think of this excellence and passion as bi-directional.
So why is receiving this award, the Outstanding Medical Educator Award, important to you?
Coming from my peers, coming from the people I work with, to recognize me as somebody who can inspire the new generation of physicians means the world to me. It's in some ways the ultimate acknowledgement of the work that I've been putting into being a good teacher.